Hi, I'm Allie. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I will be talking about obsessive compulsive disorder. So OCD is a pattern of unwanted thoughts or fears, which are the obsessions, which cause intense anxiety that lead to repetitive behaviors, which are compulsions. In 2017, I was diagnosed with OCD. After a very long and hard 6 to 7 months of nothing but the cycle of OCD, I finally got my diagnosis, and it was downhill from there, as far in a good way. I went up this slippery slope of trying to figure out what was going on with me, and it was an everyday battle. I would wake up and my intrusive thoughts would be there. I would brush my teeth and they would be there. I would shower. I would take care of my son. I would go to work, and it was constantly there. And I thought I was crazy. I was wondering, why am I having these awful thoughts? What does it mean about me? Does this mean that it's real? Does it mean it's true? And I would second guess my entire life. Last week it felt like I was someone else. And then the next, I was this whole other person. And it was just the crazy OCD battle. So, I have many different themes. My biggest one is probably contamination OCD. So I have a fear of germs. I guess it stems from being afraid of dying from a pathogen. I'm in the healthcare field, so I've learned a lot about pathogens, and it may not be a good thing to be in healthcare with OCD. But I have contamination OCD. In the past, I've had relationship OCD, false memory OCD. I suffer with pure OCD, which is where it's purely obsessional, is what they say. So you can have compulsions mentally or physically, and I've had both. I know this is a lot to cram in, but I'm a huge nerd when it comes to OCD, so please just try to keep up. But I'm also a first time, I've never, made a video, but I want to be an advocate for others, and it's super important to talk about, because OCD oftentimes goes misdiagnosed because, it's hard to wrap your mind around, like, why am I having these crazy thoughts and these feelings? And you think that because you're having a specific feeling with those thoughts that it means something about you, and you want to reach out for reassurance, to get that relief, and to get that anxiety to go away. But in the end, that's what keeps that cycle going. So please watch my videos. I'm going to try to upload once a week. This is just my starter video, just to kind of talk a little bit about OCD. And I'll get more in depth with those later. But the biggest thing is finding a support system who understands you. And it may take time to find that, because the battle with mental illness, there's so much stigma behind it, and it's so unfair. There's so many people out there who suffer silently, and it needs to be talked about. It does. And it's been years since I had that obsessive episode. I'll call it a relapse with OCD. I'm not going to get into detail about my thoughts that I had, because I'm not ready to talk about it, because there's a lot that goes into it. But I started out as a child having these tendencies. I was your typical worry wart, and I worried too much about things. So this is going to sound crazy, but I saved hair. I would save my hair And that would be my way of making sure nothing happened to people that I loved. I would count my steps a lot. I would do a specific prayer ritual at night to ensure that people around me were going to be safe. And I knew those things were odd, but I didn't know how odd. I just thought, that's just who I am. So when I had an 8-month-old son at the time, I was working at a bank. Life was good, and I suddenly got triggered. I was on my way to work and I started having these thoughts. Didn't think much of it, but then it quickly turned into this cycle. I would have a thought, I would get very intense anxiety, and then I would seek reassurance. I would do my compulsion, whether that be seeking reassurance. I would look at Google. I would YouTube things, which YouTube is okay unless you're seeking reassurance. At the time, I thought it was spiritual warfare. I thought the devil was attacking me. Like, why are these thoughts in my head? And so what I didn't know at the time was that I had obsessive compulsive disorder. So I was continually, like, fueling this cycle. It was going on and on. It was getting worse and worse. I remember just climbing in my husband's lap and just crying because I felt so bad. Like, why am I doing this? I couldn't go to work. I couldn't wake up without thinking about it. I couldn't shower without thinking about it. I felt like it was an out-of-body experience, and it was so excruciating. And I went to several therapists, and they couldn't help me. They just was like, they didn't. I was surprised. It wasn't until I looked up, I got on YouTube, and I just looked up rumination, which is a compulsion. And it came up something about OCD, and I thought, maybe I have OCD. And so I go to my doctor, and we talk, and she's like, yes, this is it. Because I would go to her and just sit and sob in her office and tell her that I was crazy. And I finally, it blew my mind. It really did. To know that finally the struggle, the fight is over, and I can finally seek the help that I need. So different things helped me. 1, Lexapro, lifesaver. 2, a good support system. People that didn't call you crazy or think it's just, you don't have depression, you don't have OCD. You need people who support you. It's very important. Taking your medication, talking to people. There is a lot of information out there for OCD, and it's not talked about. It needs to be put out there. It's so important. And if you're struggling with OCD or any mental illness, please don't be afraid to reach out to someone. You're not alone. There is hope. And please subscribe for more videos.